of never quit, and why that is the key to hitting new milestones and hitting, you know, the big those big winning moments. It's those breakthroughs of holding on and never letting go. You know, when you think you should, you don't, and then you continue on. That is a magic sauce. I'm going to go over some key points with you, tell you a little bit of my story and some life examples, and it related back to YouTube, because that's the thing I'm doing right now is YouTube. So, um, I think it's easy to get in a funk, especially when things get hard. And when things get hard, there's a few things you can do to keep yourself motivated. One of them is keeping uh, keeping your appreciation for the little things. You know, you appreciate the little things. You second key point to never quitting is you hang on. When it gets tough, it gets really tough, and you're going. You hang on. You keep hanging on. You know, and when things are slow, here's another key point to this. When things are slow, there's an opportunity to go back to the drawing board and to experiment. You know, that's pretty major, because it's in that time where you're experimenting where you can find, you know, the answers to what you're looking for. You know, again, fourth key is an opportunity to challenge your creativity. It's the same. It goes hand in hand with the creativity thing. I mean, experimenting. So when you're experimenting, you're also pushing and growing in the realm of creativity. You're you're allowing for your brain to process things, make connections it wouldn't have had before. You're just allowing for it to flow, and when that happens, things pop up, and you grab a hold of it. You know, you grab a hold of those ideas, and presto, right? And if you didn't make the time for that, then you would never had come to certain conclusions or certain ideas or certain creativity that you just wouldn't have. Another thing you can do, key five, is reflect back on your purpose. So pretty much your downtime during, like, where you feel like you can quit, you feel like you're gonna quit because it's not working out, whatever. And I'm relating it back to YouTube because I'm on my journey. I'm on 750 subscribers, which is pretty decent. To getting to 1,000, the first goal is to get to 1,000. That's what I'm doing. So, excuse me, and you know, ask yourself. Take a minute to ask yourself, what is the purpose of all this? Why am I doing this? You know, and then if you're off center, find your center again, and you can do that easily with meditation and just taking a minute to take a break. That's another different key. That's like a fifth key right there, taking a break. But before we end up taking a break, I mean, consider, yeah, take a break, but consider, you know, take some time to think about your purpose, why you're doing what you're doing. It'll be your fuel to your motivation, and motivation will be your fuel to action, and that consistency in your action will build momentum over time. And if you keep doing it over and over and over every day, with like anything you do, it can be anything, but for me, it's going to be YouTube, you know. And I've been doing it consistently every day for 4 weeks, more than 4 weeks, but for certain, I know that I have been consistently for 4 weeks. And you know, I check the graphs, I do this, and it's been like this, you know, it's been an incline. So I can only hope that by doing what I'm doing and continuing what I'm continuing, that it'll press on. And I think a lot of it has to do with the content I create and the timing of it and how I release it during certain times. And it's kind of crazy, but yeah, that's the other thing. When things are low and down, it's really easy to get discouraged. So, like, part of taking a break is to just step away from it. So when you come back to it, it feels a little fresher. But the other thing is, you know, not to stay away too long from it, but to basically consider that after you reflect and have some time to think about what you're doing, now you have a little bit of time to, like, go back to finding the joys, go back to the beginning, Michael Jordan, let's take him for an example. He left basketball and took baseball for a reason. A lot of people didn't like it. A lot of people questioned it. For him, it was finding fulfillment again in the sport. A lot of people didn't understand that. His father got murdered. He quit basketball, and people were like, "What's going on?" Because he needed to escape that. He felt like his dad was always next to him. We won his first championship gold thing, big huge NBA championship with his dad, and for him to win one without it was with him without by his side it was a big deal to him. He couldn't, if you watch the documentary on Netflix, The Last Dance, amazing. I highly recommend it if you want inside Michael Jordan, terrific guy. Um, so yeah, he had to leave it. He had to do something fresh, and so he did that. And so when you have some downtime, when things are not going your way, you refocus to see where your joy is, where your fulfillment comes, because then that's going to keep your momentum going. You know what? Michael Jordan could have just quit basketball, could have quit sports altogether and just disappeared for a year, but he didn't. He continued his athletic skills in a different direction, and it hurt him because training for basketball and training for baseball is a different training. And so for him to go to baseball, doing training for baseball hurt him later in basketball, and he talks about that. But the thing is, he kept going. He kept going. He didn't quit. He adjusted. So you're allowed to adjust and find ways to keep the momentum going. Now, I can give you some life examples here in a minute after I finish here. Just a couple, maybe one or two points. One more point. It's the simple things, because it's easy to lose your mindset, that positive mindset we build up, and we're building up the momentum and all that, and we get discouraged by something. Well, you go back to looking at, not just finding fulfillment and joy, but the little things. You find the little things you can appreciate around you in your abode, in your space, and you can actually fix things around your life to improve. You'll start to feel better. And I talked about this yesterday in the discussion organization, where organizing your life, your room, your kitchen, keeping it clean, all this stuff actually reduces stress, anxiety. It keeps you a little bit more focused. There's less distraction. So it helps with being in an atmosphere where you can appreciate what you have and you really take care of it, and it takes care of you in return, right? Especially when you're feeling like you're in the dumps because you're putting all this effort and it's not working out the way you think. But it's okay. That's going to happen. It doesn't mean that's for you to give up completely. Adjust, tweak, keep moving forward. Now, I'm going to give you at the end of this my hottest tip to never quitting. But here's the other thing. I'm going to go into my stories, my life stories, and I'll give some examples where I've quit and I've lost opportunities, and examples where I regret. Had I look back and I go, had I not quit, I could have had it. And then there's moments in my life where I didn't quit and held on, and I had those big opportunities come to me, and I jumped on those, and it was big wins, and and when the tough gets going and you get through it, you picture, it helps to picture in your head you accomplishing the goal you want and keeping that as the carrot, right, on the stick. Because it's easy to, if you lose focus from the carrot, you're going to start getting distracted, derailed. An analogy I use all the time is be like a racehorse, where they put on those side blinders on the horse, so so they're not looking to the side. They're focused on the track going forward, and that's really the big thing. And I guess that's one big secret, really, is keeping in the focus. But so here's a story where I quit, and it derailed my opportunity to ever, succeed big in that field. Not only that, I'm now trickling back into what I quit years ago and started doing it again, and it's taking a lot of momentum and energy to get it back up. And that's the thing. If you quit for a very long time, and take a long break from it, for example, in this case, this is something I quit 15 years ago, and now I brought it back recently this year, and I'm pushing, but it's like, it's taking a lot to pull out for me to get it going again. But that's okay, and now that I have a very solid attitude, now that my my abode and atmosphere is getting more organized and there's a better positive vibe around me, it's becoming easier to find flow, to find growth, to spend the time actually reflecting and seeing, oh wow, yeah, like I'm really growing, things are working, or if I fail, those failures are, and I talk about this in another discussion. I say those failures, and like how everyone says, and Jordan, don't look at it as a complete negative. It's your job, so you don't get completely derailed and completely crushed, where you take that negative and you turn into a positive. And that was Jordan's biggest secret, where his parents taught him, is you always take a negative and turn it into a positive. Don't get lost in that negativity. Don't let it take over. Don't let it spinball into a giant snowball that you can't later control, and it leads to destroying a lot of things. And I've been there, and I can tell you a little bit of that too. So my root amps was my biggest passions. About over 15 years ago, it was a band I was doing. It was like a punk rock band. We hit the scene. We hit it pretty big. Our sound was like surf, garagey, and like it had a little bit of, I guess, metal, but kind of by accident. To be honest, we weren't trying to be metal, but a lot of us classified as metal, punk, rock, surf, and so that was our thing for 3 years. And our mistake was that we never took advantage of YouTube in a way people are now, and have been for a long time. Musicians put out content, and they use like Spotify and stuff, and they use a lot of these different channels to push their music, and they're very successful as long as they don't quit and they keep working on it every day. You know, they have a singular focus, right? So so there's that. We didn't take that route. We played shows for 3 years straight in Tulsa, and we went out a couple of times after creating a lot of buzz for us. We were in the newspapers. We were like, we had a huge spread. We were on the local radio, The Edge, 104.5. They we were pretty highly played on their local, whenever they did the local stuff, we were played. We were one of the bands played a lot, and so we were getting a lot of coverage and a lot of this, and so we were getting up there. We played Center of Universe. We played right after Broncho. That was really cool because we like Broncho. We played with them at Mercury Lounge years ago, and I played with P-Lander Z. We played with a band that used to tour with Green Day a lot, and that was like one of the biggest bands we played with. I don't recall their name. It was like something it was like something dolls. I don't know. I can't remember the name. I was never really into them, so that's why I don't care for it. But we played with a lot of bands locally, and so what happened was we just fizzled out because we weren't seeing gains. Things were, we lost a guitar player, and then we got a new one, but he didn't seem to gel too well. So things were just, it just became the camaraderie became too chaotic to really find any growth, any kind of anything from it, But there could have been, had we known better, But so now with like fresh eyes, looking back, I can go, oh yeah, I can try this and this and this. There's new opportunities, even to help with AI can help out, can be the missing pieces to help out an artist to get back on their feet. So like, there's a lot of good that can come from AI. I know a lot of people. That's another topic for a different day, but there's a lot of good from there. So it cost me big time. If let's say we never quit Root Amps and we kept going every year, we probably would have CDs, music videos, probably toured, probably done more festivals and just kept going. But for some reason, I hit a low point where it was enough for me to just quit, and just go a different direction completely, which was sad because we were really good. We were really good at what we were doing, and we were getting better too. And so, another thing that happened to me that was pretty painful of an experience as far as learning from and all that was last year. I dedicated my life to this thing called the Indie Showcase. It's a thing that's all local grassroots film screenings, film festival type thing, and I would have screenings month to month, about 3 times a week, and I did it for a whole year. And I managed to do that. That was one of my goals last year, and I accomplished it. We even had a big festival this year in May, and it was my biggest success. And it's all due to these attitudes, right? To to like anytime something gets hard or people are being hard to deal with, you just find ways to keep going, right? And you'll be inspired to keep going. And let's say like I know for root amps, we would have adapted to anything we would face year to year, right? And had we sticked with it, but instead we didn't adapt, we just quit. With the indie showcase, I almost quit because I again this is a big huge failure that I faced that drove me to go into psychosis, a very like bad mental health thing that I went through. It was pretty serious, and I had friends that went through it, so I had known what it is and I know what it looks like. I didn't know what it was, and like when I was in it, it just took me a minute to figure out what was going on with me. Um, but what sparked it was a lot of things going bad, and I allowed those things to take those emotions to take a hold of me, and things got spinballed, and I lost my balance, my inner balance. Everything was just lost. My attitude was gone. So everything that I built that year was pretty much destroyed, and people were pretty much like saying you're done. And I instead of repeating root amps where I just quit completely, I looked for other avenues to keep going. And so I made little adjustments. And so one big adjustment I made was, leaving, not by choice, the film community and going into the acting community, like stage, which was a huge positive thing. I mean, sorry to say, but like it's a different, craft, the same in the same area, right? Same area, but it's so different. I'll be honest, I respect stage actors way more than film actors, because I've been doing the film stuff for 5 years and I did stage acting like all my life, like growing up as a kid, but not going back to it and having like memorized a whole thing for a whole play and having gone on stage and done the whole play twice. Like my respect for that craft and for those actors that have been dedicating their lives to this stage and play for years is tremendous. Like the it's day and night, like So and what's great about the community, acting community, is they see my talent, they see me, they utilize me, they need me, and so it's nice to go somewhere where you're appreciated and needed, and you find fulfillment in that. So like Michael Jordan, I had left the field of film because it got bad. It just something about it wasn't good. It wasn't fulfilling. The joy was gone. So I just had to walk away. I had no choice, and go look for my joys again. And so I did that through the acting. And when I talked about community in one of the other discussions and how important the community become your pillars that help you level up and sustain and keep growing until you reach a peak, right? So, and those community columns are so important. So I found a huge community column there in the acting people, and then I found another huge community column through a little theater called Go Shows, and separate from, again, still in the film community, but they were separate from that certain film community. It was a different like space, different area of town, right? Everything. So it was being underutilized. So I was like, okay, cool. I can make this my new place. And so I did. And so a lot of the opportunities arose from that. The film festival, I was able to get back on its feet, and we had our biggest film festival night this year in May. It was my biggest success in running a festival, and it took a lot of hard work too to get everything in order and organized. Again, go to my discussions. I talk about organization and the importance of that. And so, huge success, and I didn't quit like I would have with like I did in root amps when I was facing a lot of trouble. In root amps, it wasn't just us making bad decisions and people causing trouble. It was also because I literally, this is what's crazy about the root amps thing. I literally got pulled over by a cop who DUI, and I wasn't even drunk. And not only did he give me a DUI, he gave me 2 DUIs in one night. This was in a small town, and I was terrified for my life because this guy, like, he looked like a fucking psychopath. This cop, I'm telling you the truth, looked like a fucking psychopath. He was really older, small town, like like scary vibes, nasty, doesn't respect, give other human beings any kind of respect. Like, you know what I mean? Just disgusting person. Totally took advantage of me. It was 4 a.m. I was tired, and he was like, "What's wrong with you? Why are you so tired and slow? What do you think? 4 a.m, asshole." And he was like, "Yeah, you were speeding a little bit over here." And I was like, "Oh, you gotta be kidding me." And so he got me out of the car, and this is how he got me. He said, at the time, I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what a breathalyzer was. So I was like, "What is this?" And so he gave me a choice. He said, "Here's two things you can do. You can either do the breathalyzer or come to the station with me, pay a fine, and you'll be on your way." That's what he said to me, and he lied to me. The way he set it up was such a liar, because I would have done the breathalyzer. I wasn't drunk. I would have done it. But the way he said it about going to the police station and just paying a little fine and you'll be on your way, he made it sound so inviting. And the breathalyzer, it just looked like scary. It looked like a trap. It looked like some kind of weird incriminating thing. Either way, I was being set up. I should have taken the breathalyzer and I would have passed and I would have just gone my way. And he would probably just give me a speeding ticket. But I was so scared because he came on really strong. It wasn't like he was like, "Oh, hi, just in case you were speeding." No, he came on like, "Hey, get your window down. Like, what are you doing?" Like, it was intense. And so he's like, "Get out of the car." Like, like, it was insane. And so when he said, pay a fine, that's when he was really inviting. He was like, "Yeah, it's okay, just pay a fine." And I was like, "Okay, I'm not in big trouble." So when I said that, he puts me in cuffs. He gets my car towed. He takes me to the station. I sit in the jail cell for a day and night. I call my mom and I'm like, "I got fucked over." And then the rest is history. I had to go to like fucking court. I pleaded no contest because I was scared out of my mind, which was a huge mistake. I should have gotten a lawyer. I don't have money for a lawyer, and I just was scared. So I pleaded no contest. I ended up paying for 3 years, having a breathalyzer in my car. Everyone's laughing because they know I don't drink. It's so stupid. Fucking stupidness of it all. I just feel like I should sue somebody for that. But anyways, talk about a champion. This is how I handled it. Never complained. I did it. I did the stupid breathalyzer machine every time. I did it for 3 years while going to college, mind you. It was pretty embarrassing. And because everybody knew I didn't drink. So I was like, "Why the fuck do you have this?" I was like, "Well, I got fucked over." But I can't, there's no way for me to prove that. So there's that. And then so I just did it. I paid all the fines. I even went to DUI school. And here's the crazy part. The head person who ran the school took one look at me and just saw me in class and was like, "You don't have a drinking problem. You shouldn't be here. Like, what's up?" And I told her what happened. I had no choice but to go to the classes because, of all the stuff. So, and I had plead no contest. So I had to go. So I did everything they told me for like 4 years of doing this out of my life while going to college, because I decided that like I was going to go back to school. I was like, I wasn't going to have this fuck me up. Like, yeah, I destroyed root amps, but I needed to do something. And I went back to school for theater and film. I just kept doing, I adjusted and kept going, right? So there's your true mark of a champion. I didn't let that destroy my life. It's so bad. Like when I sat there in classes, there have been people who have such a problem with this. They have such a problem with the DUI stuff. It ruins their lives. You get your license taken away. It makes it harder for you to get a car. It makes it harder for you to get anywhere. It makes it harder for you to succeed in life. And so the fact that I overcame this when a lot of people's lives get destroyed, mark of a champion right there. There's a mark of a champion. That's how I got. If you ask where I got the will to succeed, right there. I just wanted to beat this thing. I wasn't going to let it destroy my life. And what's funny? At the end of all of this, I got done with the class and everything. The person who led, the director of the DUI school, gave me her desk because, well, she was getting a new one, but she was like, "I know you're really obsessed with writing," and she had a nephew that was a writer at the time. It was published. And he's like, "I'm sorry this happened to you. Here, take this as a gift. Here's a desk, a chair, and you can take all this if you want it." And I was like, "Yes, I desperately need one." And like, so I took it. So that was like I don't know if that was karma. I don't know, but it was like this beautiful desk and like all this stuff. And so I still have it. I still have it. I still have it upstairs in my office, you know. So I got a desk out. I got like an $800 desk out of it. Uh, so I ended up paying like thousands of dollars, of course, you know. But whatever, you know, whatever, dude. It's whatever, you know. It just was. It just wasn't smart, but I took care of business. I took care of business. Reflecting back, I should have done. I could have done more, but I was just terrified. I was scared of the police. I was scared of the court thing. I had to go to the small town court that was like didn't even look like a court. It was literally just in a commercial space that looked like it could have been like a laundromat before. It was just scary. You know, I just wanted to get the hell out of there. Just say yes to everything and just get the hell out of there. You know what I mean? So I was, you know, so I could move on with my life. I just didn't want to get tangled up with bullshit. You know, in a lot of ways I did, but like I said, I took care of it. And what ended up having after school is I ended up working in the film industry for 5 years after graduating from TU, which is a pretty big deal. To go from having a breathalyzer in your car to graduating from TU is I transferred from a community college after those 3 years and finished TU in like a year and a half. So, you know, that's a huge accomplishment for having, you know, gone through all this shit. Not just that, I was actually going through cancer too. I had cancer on my last year of TU, and I'd gone radiation treatments while while still doing all this stuff. And nobody really knew. Nobody cared. Nobody knew. You know, I even went to the dean once to be like, "Hey, can I get a handicap space for 3 days because I'm getting surgery for like a major surgery and like I have stitches." And they told me I can't be walking long distances, and I TU is like a campus, right? And she denied it, and I was like, we were like, "Whoa!" And then she actually quit her job a few months later, and I saw her before because I was directing a short that was about the Tulsa race massacre, and she was part of the choir that was in the. This is the guy I denied. This guy making a short film about the Tulsa race massacre, about my race, about my people. This is the guy, the white guy I denied. Wow, I feel like shit. And you know, like the next day she quit. I don't know if there's a correlation with that, but I suspect there was. I mean, I know that's reaching, I know it's looking into it, but I suspect she really fucked up as a human being, and she had to really think about what she did to me. Like, you know what I mean? Because I was bleeding. I was walking to campus, going to classes. You know, I was still taking the bus to get. They have those little shuttle buses for those parking lots, but it only takes you so far, and I still had to walk. And lo and behold, my stitches all opened up and I was bleeding and stuff, and I had to go to the nurse and, you know, take care of that and stuff. And I was like, see, I told you. Like, I went to the dean and said, hey, we're gonna need a handicap space for 3 days that nobody's using. Nobody's using this parking space. It's not like there was like being used every day. Nobody was using it. Nobody for the whole time I was going to school and going to class there. Like hardly nobody used it, you know. And I was there obsessively often because I was doing film, and I was there day to night, and I saw that space empty all the time. So I already knew, you know. And I even told the dean, I was like, look, there's a space there. It's empty. This isn't to get a one up on the system for 3 days so I can park there. No, this was I had surgery, and this is like shitty, and I still have to go to class and finish my project, and you know all this. So, anyways, I digress. I didn't quit, you know. I didn't quit school. I didn't quit TU. I didn't quit anything. I just kept going, you know. And now I'm back. I'm back doing the root amp stuff slowly. I'm back playing guitar, learning parts, and listening to the music, and getting like I'm totally inspired by root amps again. My band, you know. I'm just like, wow, it was amazing. Had we just toured, had we just gotten out there, we would have caught fire. Had we just built momentum, we would have made it. We would actually made it. I think we would have made it. I really believe it. We were so unique, and we were like nothing else. And the newspapers were saying we were so unique, and like how the one of the major writers of the Tulsa World was so impressed because he hasn't heard anything like it. He was like, yeah, initially I lumped in his own words. He said initially I had lumped root amps into every other indie band that comes out every year, but they're so different. You know, they're spectacular and live, and the raw energy we brought was intense. You know, I mean, we would get a whole room mosh pitting. You know, like when we played fucking Norman, sorry, I mean cuss Norman music festival. We killed it. It was a room full of people mosh pitting. You know what I mean? It was insane. And I miss those days. I miss those days of like of being a musician, you know, of actually being in the grind and doing it. It's a huge creative outlet, and for an artist, it's so fulfilling. It's very fulfilling, you know, especially when you're able to bring joy to people like that, where you're just able to bring action to people or just something, you know, bring them entertainment, an escape from their world. That's essentially your job as an artist, you know. It's not about you and like look what I can do. But yeah, that's you know, keeping on with college was a big one, but then keeping on with Indie Showcase and not quitting while everybody was bad mouthing me, banning me. I got banned from 2 places. Everybody doesn't even look at me or talk to me. Like it's horrible. The treatment is horrible. It's so fucking bad. And all I said was I was just being honest about my situation and things that were going on in the community. Just they were like, "Fuck you." It's pretty much sorry. That's pretty much how they handled it, you know. So they thought I would lose, but I didn't. I adjusted, and when I got banned and kicked out of their groups and this and this and that, I eventually ended up. I got picked up by the Mayfest. Not only did I have a successful Mayfest film festival, but I had a successful Mayfest art thing that happened. I got selected as one of the state gold artists. And with the beauty about the state gold art collection is that it was completely done blind. The art was picked by people in the community that thought the artwork was fantastic, but they didn't know who was created by. And I'm pretty sure that like had they known it was me, they would have said no because that group is kind of part of the same groups. So it was kind of a big fu to them because they picked my art by accident and they put it up on the wall and they had no choice but to keep that painting up for like 2.5 months, you know, right there in their faces. So it was a beautiful thing to be like them being like fu, and then they pick my own artwork and it's like, well, you just fu yourselves. Like karma is a beautiful thing. If you allow karma to just play out, that's a topic for another discussion for another day. It's a beautiful thing. If you just say, look, you guys did me wrong, but guess what? I'm not going to do you guys wrong. I'm just going to do my thing. And karma is a beautiful thing when it works out. I'm telling you. So that was a big adjustment that kept me going and kept the momentum going for me. And then I adjusted again. I adjusted by doing something in calm celebrities, and they've been in movies and stuff, you know, Anchor, for example, an actor from that movie that came to stand up, and I came and met him, and I did this painting, huge, like a pretty decent sized painting, like pop art painting, and that was like my ticket in, and so I built this relationship with this stand up comedy place, this comic place here in Tulsa, and so they know who I am. They know me as the artist, and so it's kind of cool. Like I've been able to do 9 big paintings of these celebrities that they sign. I take a picture with them. It's a lot of fun to do that. I got Steve-O. I met Steve-O. I did a painting of Steve-O. I did the Hulk. He was interesting. He's a big guy. I did a painting of him. He signed it. I did some other ones. Pippi Longstocking. I did a Power Ranger. I did just a weird assortment of people, right? Chris Kattan. I did Chris Kattan. Pauly Shore was another one I did. So anyways, I'm not bragging, but it's just like what happened was, again, you adjust and you find your way. As long as you have your attitude of that winning attitude, you don't let the bad stuff ruin your momentum or ruin you, or you just make an adjustment. And so I was coming off the success of the Mayfest thing, and then now I have this. And so there's that movie theater where I had the film festival. They have all my artwork on display. And so every time they have people come in, you know, everyone's just amazed by the work. There's so many people that come in, like there's people who want to buy it, you know, and it's like, you know, the whole point of this is to keep it on there forever, you know, and it's bring people joy, and it's working. People come in to the movie theater and they see like a wall of paintings of all these celebrities, and it's like signed, and they're just amazed by it, you know. Huge win. And then after that, I made the adjustment of the art classes that I was doing. I got hooked in doing some art classes, and the biggest one I had was last month. I had about 60 people attend like an art class, and it was in Oklahoma City, so it was outside of Tulsa. So like, that's a huge accomplishment. That in itself, that I'm touring with the art. It's kind of interesting. The fact that I could pack out 60 people and pack out a room, just with the art is pretty insane. So that was a huge win. That was last month, and then last month and this month, I debuted on stage as an actor in The Drunkard. So I may not be doing the film stuff currently, but all of this inevitably led me to YouTube. And YouTube is another thing that I'm just like, okay, it's got its successes, it's got its failures, it's got its feelings, its you do's and don'ts, and all these things. And it's very interesting because in a lot of ways, YouTube is allowing me to explore that area of my life that I've been committed to, the acting, creating films, writing, editing, looking into the humor, audience engagement, having tools to analyze audiences and see what they want, so you can present it to them as somebody who is genuinely wanting to bring joy to other people, And so that's the beauty for me as being an artist. Is one, there is a very nice, what do you call it when you do art? There's a release of just inside tension when you paint. And I did a whole discussion on this too, where basically I go over how there's a lot of benefits to art and being at war with art and not being at war with people, So that's a whole other discussion that you can find on my playlist. It's if you go to my playlist or my podcast list, you'll see it, discuss it with Lasso. You'll see about 12 different podcasts, different things, and you can look into it, But, so there we go. I've done like a full circle of failing and then coming back, and adjusting. And so my thing is now YouTube, I get to explore that creative side again. And so YouTube has been my goal this year. I made it a goal to reach 1,000 subs, to explore that. And it's been fun. It's been fun to explore all that. And so there you go. There's the difference between quitting forever and making adjustments, and just because I make these adjustments doesn't mean I quit something. It just means that isn't working out right now, so I need to figure something else out that I can do to keep going, and then I'll come back to this when that's ready. But for whatever reason, this isn't ready, but this is, and this is working. So it's like what BB King said, what he always said, and he's famous for saying, is you go where you're appreciated. You can't go to places where they don't appreciate you, where they don't need you, they don't see you, they don't see your talent, So, and talking about, like before, I was talking about communities. There's one more community I want to bring up that's been a spectacular pillar for me, that's been really helpful in keeping me going and encouraging me. And that's so important to have that. And so the Bare Bones Film Festival out in Muskogee, Oklahoma, I've been going quite a bit. I've had quite a bit of nominations and a lot of wins there. And I've been going since, like, on and off since 2007, and this year, which helped me, again, go from people hating on me and they think I'm just going to completely fall apart and lose, to winning Best Actor. Best Actor, that's a pretty big deal. And there at the film festival, and I won. I got this recognition, I guess you call it, ambassador, like India tour ambassador, and I won this marketing award for all my marketing techniques and things that I do that really stand out compared to anybody else. Like nobody does what I do, and that's not bragging. That's just me being honest. Like, I put a lot of work into what I do, a lot of innovation and creativity, and I allow myself to never be like, oh, that's a stupid idea. I just go, where's that going to lead me? Where's this going to lead me? That's fun. Or, that's fun, And so, but I'm not like, oh, wow, he he's so scientific and engineering. No, I'm not that smart. I just put the effort into it. And that's enough to stand out. I put enough effort, I guess, where it's enough to where it stands out. And I guess that's another thing. Um, is you want to stand out, I guess, but you want to stand out for the right reasons, not for the wrong reasons. You if you do everything, all the key things I went over, uh, I'll just go over them real quickly. Appreciating the little things, hanging on, experimenting, challenging your creativity, reflecting and finding and restating your purpose. You keep finding ways of finding joy and fulfillment. You organize your abode, your workspace. All these things are the things that are going to keep you going when it gets really tough. And that's how you truly never quit. And the thing is, saying before, my biggest secret and thought tip for you, which I've probably already said it here a million times, the secret to not quitting, to never quitting anything, is to finding something that you love, that you're really, really, really passionate about, and you just 100%. That is the hot tip that I'm going to give you here. That is the hot tip. Um, so and that works for anything you choose, anything you do, any person. It can be anybody, starting with anything, any amount of money, any situation. If you have the mental attitude that you're going to have a focus, that's the hot tip. A singular focus that you're passionate about and you're obsessively going to chase after it no matter what. You're going to see that you're putting in a lot more time, a lot more energy, a lot more creativity than anything else that you would. You're going to dedicate your whole everything because you're getting a lot of fulfillment and knowing that you're getting pleasure and pursuing something you really love instead of putting hours and chasing money. Unless you love money, then I guess you'll do anything for it. But I guess to each their own personality, right? But essentially, yeah, that's pretty much it. Having a singular focus and a goal, a major goal, one major goal that you're just going after, and keeping that vision of you actually obtaining it. That's the carrot on the stick, and having those horse blinders, those horse race blinders. When you're racing and moving forward, you don't get distracted. You keep focus on that singular goal and that vision, and you do whatever it takes. Do whatever it takes in terms of utilizing whatever resources you have to use, and just be happy with that. Don't be sad, because if you get angry or sad, it's going to derail you. It's going to put you off center. And the whole point of all this stuff is that you're already happy and that you're already centered and you're just growing as a person. You can't do that if you don't first grow yourself into a position where you are balanced and centered. Then everything else comes in. Then at that point, but I think a lot of people make the mistake that they assume that they find happiness and centeredness in going out chasing after something, when the reality is the opposite. You take care of you first, your attitude and what you think about things, you fix that, you work on that like it's like your life depends on it, because it really does. And in a way, it really does, because your attitude defines your actions, where you end up, who you hang out with, all these things, how much time you spend doing something or not doing anything. So there's a lot to consider there. I went through a lot, but something so simple as never quitting, you wouldn't think has so much discussion behind it. But the truth is, you can really expand on anything when you want to really think about it. When you want to be very logical about certain key elements that help, and when you go over the key elements, you realize that the reason why simple things like never quitting is so complex is because we as humans are complex. We are such a complicated creature designed in such a perfect way. You know, we thrive in the right temperatures, right? In the right atmosphere and community and this and that. So we're definitely a beautiful creature in the right setting. We can be very very spectacular kinds of people. That's why it's that important. Setting is that important. It can really affect you. That's why I bring up organization. I mean, look up all the topics. They all make sense when you look at them and you listen through everything that I say and I'm talking about. It all makes sense. It all connects, and every little element, every topic is like an element to the secret sauce you need to bake that cake of being a champion. The champion cake. You know, if you're going to receive that champion cake, well, you need all the little ingredients at play in the oven, doing the things, working it to that champion cake. You know. So I hope that was insightful. I hope you found that interesting. I hope you enjoyed your time with me. I enjoy hanging out with people and talking to them and going into these discussions. You know, so I appreciate you. My name is Lasso. For those who don't know, first time visiting, and this is my channel, Lasso's Passions, where I've been chasing my passions on YouTube for the last 4+ weeks. Like seriously going after it, looking into it, really discovering it, utilizing those things, and really doing exactly everything that I just said, everything that I just told you about these key components of maintaining success. Wow, when things get tough or impossible or a wall gets placed and you can't keep going that direction. It's like you go this way, you hit a wall, you maneuver this way and you look for another way around until you hit another wall, and you keep doing that and you realize you're creating like a lot of motion, a lot of momentum for yourself. You really are. You may not feel like it because you're moving from one profession to the next, right? Like, oh, why are you painting now, or why are you filming now, or why are you doing a film festival now, or why are you doing this? Because in my life I can't do one. I can focus on one singular project, right? But I can't seem to find a steady foothold on doing just one thing. It seems like in today's world, you have to be doing a lot of different things, have different side businesses to really stay afloat and have that freedom and lifestyle that people want and are jealous over when people have all the money and access, you know, and all this stuff. Definitely, you know what I'm saying? Because it's true. There's a feeling you get when things are in order and you're financially successful. There's a confidence that you can't fake. You know, I mean, you can try. I guess you'd be a really good actor, or you're humble and you really appreciate the little things that you feel like a millionaire, which is totally doable. You could put $1,000 in your wallet and you're gonna feel like a millionaire. And you may not even have $1,000. You could put $100 in your wallet. You're gonna feel more confident knowing that you have $100 in your wallet. You know, it's confident killing to have $0 in your wallet. You know, it is. It's complete. It kills your confidence. I guess confidence could be another discussion. It could be the next discussion we go into, and how to maintain it and how to like, because everything I discuss, I try to go into one, exploring it in a very in-depth way and in a way that allows you to grow more as a person versus shrinking and just losing, right? So that's why we go into these deep discussions. I mean, that's pretty much all of it. I've covered everything. So like I said, my name is Lasso for those who are joining for the first time, and give me a like, subscribe. It really helps the channel. And I appreciate you guys. Yeah, tomorrow we're gonna do another discussion, probably around the same time, 5 o'clock. I think it'll be overconfidence. I think it'll be overconfidence. Okay, everybody. I appreciate it. You all have a good night.